Hey, what's going on, everybody? All the hellions and geeks out there. Today, we're going to be discussing and talking about what happened 15 years ago today. Most know today is September 11th, 2016. The day that we had some terrorist attacks happen on U.S. soil. I'm not discussing the conspiracies. I'm not discussing any of that. That's for another day. I can make another video if you want about it. Today, it's going to be about the facts of what happened and two stories. My own, which is a smaller story, and a story of somebody who I view as a hero for the day. One of the thousands and countless thousands of heroes for that day. My dad. So, let's get down to it. First thing we're going to do is a moment of silence for everybody who made sacrifices or was sacrificed on that day. Man, what I can't believe is that this stuff is actually going to be taught to our kids as history. It's amazing. I mean, it makes sense. It is a major part of American history and changed the way America was doing. It did everything. Still to this day, it changed a lot. A lot came out of it, but that's a discussion for another video. Here I'm going to go over some of the facts, some of the stuff that had happened, the timeline, and then I'll get into these two stories. My story, well, whether you look at it or not, it's just a smaller story. The story of my dad, who's still alive, but to me, he was very involved in it. And I want to get it out there. He deserves it. So here's the facts. On September 11th, 2001, 4 planes are hijacked. 2 hit World Trade Center, north and south. 1 hits the Pentagon, and the last one, the 4th, is crashed into a field in Pennsylvania. 2,996 people are killed and 600 are injured in this attack. 2,606 in the World Trade Centers, 265 in the 4 planes, and another 125 in the Pentagon. Here's your timeline of events, excluding some of the military stuff and all of that. This is just the main for the airplanes and the impacts. At 7:59, American Airlines Flight 11 takes off from Boston Logan Airport. 767 has 92 people on board. At 8:14, United Airlines 175 takes off. It's another 67 with 65 people on board. 8:19, Flight 11 alerts ground control that they've been hijacked. At 8:20, American Airlines 77 leaves Dulles in D.C. It's another airport. It's 7:57, 64 people on board. At 8:40, the FAA alerts NORAD needs about Flight 11. Needs scrambles 2 fighters to find the plane. They never have the time. At 8:41, United Airlines 93 leaves Newark with 44 people on board. It was actually scheduled to leave at 8 o'clock, but it was delayed. And here comes the stuff. At 8:46, Flight 11 crashes into floors 93 through 99 of the North Tower, World Trade Center. Within seconds of the impact, New York Police Department and New York Fire Department are dispatched to try to evacuate that tower. At this point in time, they think it was just an accident. I actually remember that on the radio, hearing it while I was at work, but we'll get into that in my story. At 9:03 a.m., Flight 175 hits the South Tower, floors 75 through 85. At 9:31, the president, then George Bush, finally on the radio, publicly calls it an apparent terrorist attack. At 9:37, Flight 77 hits the Pentagon Western Wall. It kills 59 on board and 125 Pentagon employees. At 9:59, the South Tower finally collapses. At 10:07, Flight 93, the people on board make some phone calls, tell their families what's going on. They retake the plane and it crashes into the field, killing everybody on board but stopping it from hitting whatever its intended target was. At 10:28, the North Tower goes down. Alright, now a lot of you probably thinking, why is my story important? And it's not, it's important to me. And some people out there might feel it's important because we all have what we were doing the day it happened. This is our generation's JFK assassination. We all remember the exact things we were doing. Mine and the events for the next couple of months were a little more linked to it because of who my dad is and what he was doing at the point. But let's just get to my story. I'm from New Jersey, a little over an hour outside of New York. Back then, you're going back away. 21 years old, was working as a contractor, a private contractor for the government. We had a little spot on a military base that we were renting out. It's a little tiny military base close to Delaware and New Jersey. I remember in the morning, go in, I'm doing prep, because we were going to be going out later on that day to start a couple-day job, actually, outside of the state. I remember sitting in the back room. It was just me. I was alone. My boss comes in the morning, and he's like, oh, I'm going to go out, going to get breakfast, He leaves. A couple of other guys were sitting in the other part, which another part of the building linked to it, where we kept big pieces of equipment and other stuff. And I remember the radio in the background, could barely hear it. And then you hear on the radio, there's an airplane crash. And I remember just thinking, it ain't nothing, it's horrible that it happened, but planes crash. This sucks. A couple minutes later, I hear it, World Trade Center. So I'm like, what the heck? Well, one of the other guys runs around into the part of the shop I'm in, grabs me, and he's like, hey man, come into the other room, there's something going on. So go in, and, by then the news had flashed it up that here it is. There's one of the towers is hit, smoke coming out. We're all thinking, oh my God, this is a horrible accident. This is terrible. A little bit later, before the second tower was hit, we kind of knew something was up. The military base that we were on had stuff on it. Not going to go into what it was, but it was a little more secure than other military bases. My boss was on the way in, and they stopped him, and they ID'd him. Now, mind you, we've known these guys for years, but they ID'd him, they detained him, they went through every bag of the food he had gotten. They let him in, he comes in, and we're all like, okay, that's weird, like, they don't usually act like that. A few minutes later, right on TV as we're watching it, we're eating our sandwiches, second tower's hit. We all kind of look at each other like, we're all saying this isn't an accident. We knew it wasn't an accident. Everybody who was watching on TV at that point in time knew this wasn't an accident, even though they kept saying on TV, it's just an accident, it's just an accident. We knew better. A few minutes later, as we're sitting there, and it's kind of weird because the day is exactly like it is out today. It's a little warm of a day, but beautiful outside. We hear the trucks pull up out front. The guys that we knew, the military police, the security, they, not so politely, but politely, with weapons in hand, but not pointed at us, tell us that it might be a good idea for us to leave the grounds, to leave our IDs there, because we weren't going to be using them again for a long time. They basically told us we got to go. We left. Within seconds, they made it very clear that we're out. I remember just on the way home, just thinking like, well, what's going on? By the time I got home from the drive, on the radio, right before I pull in to the apartment where my wife, back then my girlfriend, I was going to visit her, and I had all day. I was really kind of weirded out. The tower fell, the first one. I go inside, I wake her up, tell her what's going on. We're watching TV, second tower goes down. It was just like one of those moments where you're looking and you're like, what's going on? That's not good. Something bad just happened to our country that hasn't happened in a long time. Now, this is where it's going to start going over into my dad's story and my links to it. My dad. Like I said, I'm from New Jersey. I've lived here my entire life. Yeah, I went to New York a bunch of times. My dad he's retired now, very high up in the state. He worked for the state itself. And he was one of the heads of the Department of Emergency Management. And they had a bunch of jobs. I knew when the towers were hit, he was going to be on his way up there. This is before we knew that it was an absolute terrorist attack, but I knew he was going to be on his way up there. Nobody knew how bad it was going to get. I don't even think he did, and I've always thought, like, I can't imagine what he was thinking on the way up. Like, there's people that are dead, people that are hurt, but nobody expected the next part. Nobody expected the towers to fall, and I know that he didn't. Now he, like thousands of people, I view as a hero. His job, basically, when he got up there, was to control the situation from New Jersey's side, or to start it. He had to get ambulances and stuff up there. He had to help coordinate the removal of the people that didn't survive. Getting EMS up there. When the towers fell, his job got even worse. I can't even imagine what he went through. I have a feeling and empathy, and when he would come home, because he spent the better part of a year up there, because after and while he was coordinating and helping with the police and all the other people that were up there doing their jobs, he was also running the family center, which was for the families who were displaced or affected by the incident, the survivors. So every day, not only did he deal with the one side of it, he had to deal with looking at the families who had lost these people. I couldn't imagine, and I know how it affected him. Because when he would come home one day here, one day there. Now, I wasn't living at home at a point in time, but the minute he was on the way home, he would call me, and I would fly. It didn't matter. It was 2, 3 in the morning. I would fly to his house. I don't think he wanted to burden a lot of people with it, but he needed somebody, and I knew it. You could see it in his face. He told me a lot of the stories that I will never repeat because they are horrific. I've seen pictures that he had to take that are horrific, and I can't imagine being the person to see that stuff and have to stop and take a picture of it. To do that, on my side, it was like, wow, I can't imagine being there for all these people seeing that. But every day for a year, and still even after that, because there was so much after that they had to do, he was up there. He, it's amazing that he did as well as he's always done with it. He's always dealt with it. Like, I know how bad it affects him to this day. And that's what I've said before, that the families that this happened to, they're still affected, and they will be forever. It's never going to go away from them. For us, yeah. For a lot of people, it's completely gone. I've even heard people, when you bring it up, they're like, just stop. It's the past. Guess what? It's not. For another 100 years, there'll still be people that are affected directly by it. But let's get back into my dad. I can only do it from my point of view, and I have to amplify it 1,000 times to feel what he felt, because yeah, I have to. And he's a great man, always has been. He's a nut. He's taught me a lot. Crazy. But in a good way. We went up to a lot of memorials. I even was up there. I was up there at Ground Zero within, I'd say, 24 hours, maybe 2 days. I was up there, not doing what those guys were doing, but every memorial, and there are so many memorials were going on back then. Every couple of days there was something else, and it was needed. I fully believe it was needed. Those families, I can't imagine. But he helped direct all that. The emergency side. I can remember him being with military personnel, generals, the Red Cross. He did so much for so many people, and never, ever, to this day, has he even asked for any kind of recognition into it. That's what makes these guys heroes. Not just him, but the fire department, the police, all of those people. They've never gotten and never even asked for recognition when they do get it. It actually, even him, like, he got awards for it. He got all kinds of stuff, and I've never even seen them. He doesn't display them because to him it's not important. He shouldn't be. He feels like, and they all feel like, they shouldn't have gotten these awards because they were just doing their job, and that makes them heroes in my eyes. Especially him, because I'm directly linked to him. I've seen what he went through, and it changed the direction of my life. Up until I've had this problem with my disability, I was going to school through the Department of Justice, through FEMA. I've got certificates crawling at the rear end because I was slowly building up to doing what he did. Now I can't anymore, but we can all recognize what everybody went through that day. So I thank you. I had to get the stories out. I know they don't make a lot of sense, not a lot of details, and there's some stuff I'm leaving out because it's brutal and it's not needed. I just had to get it out there, especially for him. I mean, the job he did and what he did of helping those families and helping those people, seeing what he saw, helping with the rescue, recovery efforts, the years. And now the physical problems. He's got all kinds of problems from the pollutants they breathed in, the toxins that were there. It's been a terrible cost for these people. And to him. So this whole thing has just been a memorial and a memory of all those people. They've made sacrifices, and some were sacrificed straight off. It may sound horrible for me to put it that way, but what happened to them, no matter who you believe did it or why they did it, the people that died were sacrificed. And some of those were sacrificed while making sacrifices. And their families and friends have all made sacrifices. Whether it was mental or physical, emotional, both, it's still sacrifices. And we need to remember that every day, so we stop repeating the same mistakes that caused these people to do what they did to us in the first place. So thank you to everybody out there, to the friends, to the family, to the loved ones, and to the people that lost their lives or sacrificed a piece of their soul or mind to it. That's all. Please share this. I know I monetized it. Any of the money I get from this video is not going to go to me. I know I don't have a lot of subs, and it'd be nice, but I'm going to give it to the Red Cross, as they were, from my experience, and I know from my dad talking, they were huge in helping what happened September 11th. And like I said, I have firsthand experience. I've talked to Red Cross personnel. I talked to